just getting set up, I will let everybody know that Jamie Preece is one of the comedians that will be performing for us for our Risible Inclusive Comedy Night. It's our first inclusive comedy night, so we're really excited about it. It's going to officially start at 6 p.m. But before then, Jamie's going to have a chat with us about assistive technology and how it's transformed his life and allowed him to perform for us today. He's ready, yeah? Okay, and over to you, Jamie.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay at the back?
Yes, we can.
It is amazing to be here, and when I say amazing, I mean amazing, because you see, just 8 years ago, I did not have a voice of my own. An old friend recently said, I'm trying to work out how you got from where you were then to how you are now. We haven't got time for my whole life story here. So here is the short version. I was starved of oxygen at birth for 4 minutes. Doctors were unable to revive me, but I spontaneously came back to life. Yes, I know I'm amazing. They said I would be severely brain damaged, cerebral palsy, they said, and would not be able to do anything in my life. They told my parents to put me in a home, forget about me, and go and have some more children. Fortunately, Mum and Dad ignored this advice. I cried all the time as a baby, all the time. My first memory of communicating is of pointing and making a noise. When I needed a wee, I would also ask for chocolate, pointing to my mouth. When I was 4, I was assessed by a psychologist. He asked me to put little coloured balls into a box. After understanding what he wanted, but my hands did not cooperate, so the wrong colours went in. I was proud I had got some in, and could not see why he told my parents I did not know or understand anything. At this point, I could nod and shake my head and make noises, but no clear words. I started Sandalwood School at 5. The first few years are a blur of travelling back and forth and traumatic experiences of weeing myself. When I was 8, they gave me a typewriter with a screen, ironic as I could not speak, read, or write. I had to type words every day, even though I could not read them. Once a week, I had a half-hour speech therapy session. Progress was slow, but I did learn a little. I could now say some words. The therapist started me off with a word book with symbols to point to. I took it home and worked with my mum on it. Mum was enthusiastic and helped a lot. I enjoy this new level of communication. I could tell school what I had been doing at home and vice versa. School were finally taking me seriously. The speech therapist said it was time I moved up to a communication device if I put the work in. I was excited, and the rector and liberator came to school. He said I could do it. In fact, I was the best he had seen. I was going to get one. However, around this time, my dad decided all this was making me lazy and needed to stop. He went into school and shared his opinion. The word book went flat that day, and that was that. I could have had a communication device at school, but Mum said I had better not. It was like going back in time. All my freedom of expression was gone. Just like that. I felt lost, and school did not know what to do with me. I was still typing words every day, and my typewriter was upgraded to a BBC computer, but I still could not read or write. Strangely, my dad decided to get me one 17s at home. School started giving me homework. Guess what? Or copying words I could not read or understand. When I was 10, a family friend came to work at school. Trish was great and spent a lot of time working with me. I started speaking more, but my speech remained very hard to understand. School then brought in French classes. We had 3 hours a week. This became a standing approach in my family, as I still could not read or write English. French journey to Derbyshire, hare. So nothing more of interest to mention, apart from being the only pupil ever to run away from school on an electric wheelchair. I got a mile up the road before the batteries calmed. So I gave up. It was a bad job at 13. Dad decided I was dyslexic and insisted I do maths at home, but no writing. So I went through life believing him and thought of AAC as something other people did, communicating through family and close friends. I believed I could talk. My teenage years were difficult. Everyone else was chatting girls up, but I needed help to talk, and awkward. I had a couple of relationships, but communication was always an issue until, at 24, I met Emma, who somehow understood everything I said. From time to time, someone would ask me, why did I not use a communication device? I would always brush it off with an excuse, but in my heart I believed I was not good enough. I could not read or write, and anyway, it would just make me lazy, right?
Jamie says 1 minute.
No problem, Jamie.
But all along I wished I could have that magic machine that would change everything. So fast forward to 2011, I was settled with Emma, and we had 2 lovely children. I had a home computer, but could not do much with it. I met Julian from the Assistive Trust at an exhibition. He told me they help disabled people with computers. We had a chat. Of course, the AC thing came up, and of course I dismissed it. A year later, at the same exhibition, I went back to the Assistive Trust and met Tony, and there began the conversation and friendship that continues to this day. He showed me the grid too, but I didn't get it. The screen was too far away, and anyway, it would cost me too much money. Sometime later that year, I found myself at the Communication Matters Roadshow in Sheffield. Little did I know how much that day would change my life, and that forever after, things would either be before or after I got the grid. So the roadshow started off boring, and by lunchtime I was ready to throw the towel in. But then wanted to be like let's just see what's on after, she said. So we found ourselves at the Smart Box presentation. The grid too appeared on the giant screen. I grabbed Emma's arm and said I could do this. I went home and downloaded a trial of the software, and there, at the age of 36, began my very own communication revolution. All of a sudden, my brain seemed to activate with an explosion of words that I had no idea what to do with them. I was used to my way of vocalizing that words were all round the wrong way now. And where should I put all the little words I had been missing out? Now my sentences all seemed stupid. I needed to learn how to put a sentence together. At this point, I had no speech therapist. Emma was great, correcting me where others would ignore a mistake. Tony from Assistive was helpful too. I was obsessed, working all day to edit the grid how I wanted it. I preferred to speech therapy. Meanwhile, Smartbox loaned me a tablet. At the appointment, the speech therapist said, "You don't really need me, do you?" and referred me to Barnsley Hospital Assistive Technology Department. Marcus came out to see me. He said, "You seem to know what you were doing," and mounted the tablet on my wheelchair. I sat day and night learning how to edit the grid to how I wanted it. Not being able to read off the screen made it slow. I once spent 10 hours trying to find a delete, command button. Turns out it was backspace I needed. Hair. Barnsley then loaned me a little tablet with SIM card slot. I could finally text independently. I found I could edit my grades, but talking was hard. I kept missing my chance in conversation, and sometimes people would walk off. But I kept with it. Every time I went out, I got more ideas and would come home desperate to get them into the computer. It was great to start really talking to my kids. People started treating me differently, even if the tablet was not switched on. I started to go out on the bus on my own, which was a big step. My confidence grew, as did my vocabulary. One day I was out on my own, and I realized I did not recognize myself anymore. Another time, a group of lads harassed me, and instead of just taking it, I was able to say, "Shut it, you muppet," and they all fell about laughing. I did a BTEC in functional English and learned some stuff about grammar. I was so grateful for my new life. I wanted to give something back. Every time I had contact with Barnsley, I would say I would do anything if they ever needed. Eventually, they invited me to do a Skype link session with the SLT students at Leeds Beckett University. That went well, and before too long, I was asked to sit on their interview board. I find it interesting, and it is nice to get to know successful applicants once they have started working. I edit all my own grades and now also support other users. The latest version allows me to control my mobile phone through the computer, which is awesome. One day I was wishing I had a calendar to use with the grid, and I thought, why don't I make one? So I did. Okay, it took me 4 months, but I did it. When I showed it to Smartbox, they loved it and have now published it to be used by grid-free users around the world. I am still involved with the ADICE Trust. They used me as a case study, and last year invited me to meet their patron, Edward, Duke of Kent. It's kind of funny when I see old friends who knew me before AAC. At first, they don't know how to take it, then something clicks and there's a grown man weeping into their pine, saying, "I can't believe it." One thing that has meant a lot to me was meeting an old girlfriend and being able to explain a couple of things that were not clear before. My brother-in-law said he used to feel awful not being able to understand my humor, but now he says we can communicate right down to the last terrible joke. I now go to a disabled cycling group. I am a volunteer, helping with bike security and keeping an eye on other users. I get to cycle too, which is nice, but I could not imagine doing it without my communication device. Another thing I did was a mystery customer job on trains on my own. I am on various advisory panels and expert user groups too. I do have to be careful though, my device can get me into trouble. One time I had been in a noisy pub with an old friend. We had been saying we were both still up for a laugh after all the years. Anyway, I left and went to the bus stop, accidentally clicking the last phrase I said. As I swung into the bus stop, out from my tablet boomed, I am game for anything. The girls at the bus stop thought it was hilarious. One thing that is easily overlooked, but has been one of the most profound changes to my life, is the freedom to talk nonsense, make small talk nonsense, swear, take the mickey, just have a laugh. Because sometimes the small stuff is as important as the big stuff. So AC has changed everything. I can now go anywhere and do things I never imagined possible. Now I have a voice of my own. Thank you for listening.
And that's it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie. That was absolutely brilliant.